Welcome to Module 5, the discussion on accounts receivable. At the end of the module, we will be able to know the classification and presentation of accounts receivables, the initial and subsequent measurements of accounts receivables, the adjustments necessary in order to determine the net realizable value of accounts receivables, understand the gross and net method of recording credit sales, the accounting for doubtful accounts, worthless accounts written off, and recoveries of accounts written off. So first, let us define what accounts receivable is. Accounts receivable arises from the sale of goods and services in the ordinary course of the business that is not supported by promissory notes. So ito yung mga pautang mo na walang promissory note. So these are considered accounts receivable. Um, Normally, these are in the ordinary course of the business. For example, you are selling goods and to be able to increase income or to expand the reach of your market, nag-extend ka ng credit sales o nagbibigay ka ng mga pautang. So that is the treatment of the accounts receivable. So let us classify itong accounts receivable into trade and non-trade. When we say trade, ang ibig sabihin lang nito ay yung pautang within 1 year or normal operating cycle kung ano yung mas mahaba. Because depende kasi sa company yung kanilang normal operating cycle. But in actual practice ay 1 year ang operating cycle ng most companies. So ano ang classifications nito? This is classified as a current asset. So kapag yan ay beyond na sa 1 year or the normal operating cycle, it is classified as non-current assets and as non-trade receivables. So how do we measure accounts receivable? Accounts receivable is measured initially according to PFRS 9 at fair value plus transaction cost. So initially yan at fair value at plus transaction cost. So halimbawa, meron kang pautang ngayon, how do you recognize it? It is recognized at the fair value plus the transaction cost na directly ay attributable dun sa acquisition nung goods. Subsequently, according to PFRS 9, it is recognized as at amortized cost. Ano ibig sabihin nitong amortized cost? Well, actually, it is the net realizable value of the accounts receivable. Ang ibig sabihin ng net realizable value is the amount of cash expected to be collected or the estimated recoverable amount. Initially, minimeasure mo siya at fair value plus transaction cost, pero habang tumatagal kasi itong accounts receivable, there is a possibility na baka hindi mabayaran because of many factors relating to your customer, to the collection. So, to be able to be conservative in presenting your financial statements, at the subsequent measurement, according to PFRS 9, the accounts receivable shall be measured kung saan yung estimated na mare-recover siya. So, para reliable and conservative ang measurement mo under your financial statements. So how do we estimate itong mga net realizable values na ito? So there are 4 na i-discuss natin for this part of the module. The allowance for free charge, allowance for sales return, for sales discount, and for doubtful accounts. So now let's go with the allowance for free charge. There are terminologies that you will be encountering when you are answering problems. Ito yung FOB destination, freight on board destination, FOB shipping point, freight collect, and freight prepaid. So, isa-isahin natin. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng mga terminologies na ito? Under the FOB destination, ang sabi dyan, the ownership is transferred to the buyer upon receipt. Kaya siya destination is because kung saan yung location ni buyer ay doon niya palang matatanggap yung items. So ibig sabihin, at the time from the point of view of from seller's point up to the point of the buyer, before the point of the buyer, yun ay owned pa, yun ay pagmamayari pa nung seller. So, matatransfer lang yung ownership at the time na nandun na siya sa buyer's point. So, yun ang sinasabi under FOB destination. So, sir, anong kinalaman yan dun sa pag-account mo sa freight charge? Well, when we say FOB destination, normally, dahil ang ownership of the items ay nasa seller pa when it is in transit o nung nandun pa lang siya sa daan, normally ang freight charge will be yung transportation and delivery expenses will be chargeable to the seller kung sino yung nagbebenta kasi siya nasa kanya pa ang ownership. So ganun ang logic ng pag-account when we say it is FOB destination. What if FOB shipping point naman? So as the term implies, shipping point. The ownership of the goods is transferred to the buyer upon shipment. So merong shipping point. Merong location kung saan isi-ship yung mga items. At kapag nandun na yun sa shipping point, the ownership is already transferred to the buyer. So ano naman sir ang kinalaman niyan dun sa may free charge? So therefore, kung yung at the time of the shipping, at the point of shipping ay na-transfer na yung ownership, it is therefore incumbent dun sa buyer na bayaran yung transportation charge from the point of shipment to the point of the destination. So kung nandun na sa point of shipment, ang magbabayad na ng shipping charges from the point of shipment, from the point of shipping up to the point of destination, yung buyer's location, ay si buyer na dahil siya na ang may-ari at that period. Next, yung freight collect. Freight charge is actually paid by the buyer. Itong freight na tinutukoy dito is the transportation or the delivery expenses. When we say collect, ibig sabihin, kapag na-deliver yung mga items sa buyer, ay babayaran ni buyer yung shipping fees. So parang COD ang labas when you are doing online shopping. Parang yung shipping fee ay babayaran mo on the time na ni-receive mo yon as the buyer, at the point of view of the buyer. Kaya siya freight collect. Kapag yung freight charge is actually paid by the buyer. Ibig sabihin, from the time na yan ay pinadala, hindi pa bayad yung shipping charges o yung mga freight charges niyan. Yung carrier, yung for example, LBC or LBC, JRS, i-collect niya yun sa buyer, kaya siya freight collect. So, yung kabaliktaran naman nun, yung freight prepaid, because freight charge is actually paid by the seller. Nung time na shinip yung goods, ay binayaran na ni seller yung mga items. Binayaran na ni seller yung shipping charge for the items. Okay, let us illustrate this allowance for free charges. This illustration is a special scenario because before, di ba sinasabi natin kapag FOB destination, the normal or customary procedure is dahil ang ownership of the goods ay na kay buyer, upon receipt pa lang, therefore, kapag FOB destination, normally, ang katandem niyan ay yung freight prepaid. Dahil kapag FOB destination, ang ownership ay na kay seller pa while the goods are in transit or while the goods are in the process of shipping pa. However, there are cases na yung goods ay FOB destination but it is shipped na freight collect. FOB destination siya pero freight collect siya. Ibig sabihin, the buyer will pay the freight charge kapag na-receive niya yung goods. Tapos, yung kung ano man yung ibinayad niyang freight charge will be deducted doon sa sa price ng mga goods. Because normally, itong mga shipping charges na to ay sinasama na, actually they incorporate yung value, yung cost of shipping dun sa mismong items eh. Syempre, this is part of the cost of the product, kaya dapat isama mo doon yung shipping charges. Kaya normally binabawas 'yan when the buyer is paying for the freight charges. So how do we this illustration will present us yung ganong scenario na FOB destination and this is freight collect. The entity has 200,000 on their accounts receivable at the end of the accounting period. So meron siyang pautang na 200,000. The terms are 210 and N30. FOB destination and freight collect. So dapat alam mo na by this time ano ibig sabihin ng 2/10 and N30. Ibig sabihin ng 210, this relates to the cash discount. Ibig sabihin nito, when you pay within 10 days, magkaka-receive ka ng 2% cash discount. When you pay within 10 days, makaka-receive ka ng 2% cash discount. Yung N/30, ibig sabihin naman, ang due date mo ay within 30 days. Kaya N/30. FOB destination and freight collect daw siya. The customer paid freight charge of 10,000. So how do we recognize the sale? So when you are analyzing transactions, lagi mong titingnan lagi mong munang i-analyze o identify kung ikaw ba yung seller o ikaw ba yung buyer, because magkaiba ang recognition niyan. Baka mamaya buyer ka pala dun sa problem tapos nagre-recognize ka ng receivable. So mali 'yon. First, in this case, you are the seller dahil ikaw yung may pautang. To record the sale, you debit accounts receivable 200,000, you debit freight out 10,000, you credit sales 200,000, you credit allowance or freight charge 10,000. So, pansinin mo muna yung accounts receivable at sales. Di ba kapag nagre-recognize ka ng sales, alam mo na you debit accounts receivable and then you credit sales 200,000. Ngayon, i-incorporate na natin yung freight charge na sinasabi kasi FOB destination and freight collect. So when for conditions na indicating a transaction is a freight collect, ibig sabihin nito ay babayaran ni buyer ang shipping charges mo. So how do you recognize this? Because eventually yung binayaran ni buyer na yan na 10,000 ay ibabawas niya yan kapag binayaran ka na niya ng kanyang utang. So how do you recognize it? Dapat mag-set up ka ng allowance for freight charge by setting up 10,000. Then freight out 10,000. Ibig sabihin ng freight out is the transportation or the delivery expenses. Next, to record the collection within the discount period. So kung halimbawa nagbayad na yung buyer at within the discount period, ibig sabihin within 10 days, how do you recognize it? Of course, you will credit accounts receivable. Tanggalin mo na yung buong amount ng accounts receivable para ma-eliminate yung receivable account, 200,000. Next, you recognize the discount. Ang sabi, 2% daw ng 2% ang discount. So 2% of 200,000 is 4,000. So you debit sales discount. Next, allowance for freight charge. Remember, yung allowance for freight charge na sinet up mo kanina, it will be deducted dahil yan ay binayaran ni buyer. So, you debit allowance for freight charge 10,000 to eliminate the allowance. And then, the remaining balances will be your cash receipt. So, yun lang yung matatanggap mo. Yung cash is 186,000. Binawas na yung sales discount at binawas na yung shipping fee na binayaran ni buyer. So, debit cash, 186,000. So that's how we recognize under the condition of FOB destination and freight collect. You may refer to the Intermediate Accounting 1 by Valix for for other items of illustrations, in the interest of time, I will be dealing on these special transactions, but on the assessments or exercises, maybe ay maglalagay tayo noong mismong FOB destination, freight prepaid, or FOB shipping point, freight collect, or FOB shipping point, freight prepaid, yung mga ganong combinations. But as long as you understand the concept of this, yung how it works using this illustration, ay madali mo lang naman siyang masasagot. Now, let's move kanina. We already discussed allowance for freight charge. Now, let's go to allowance for sales return. So, ano ibig sabihin nitong sales returns na to? Di ba, pag nagbebenta ka, sometimes there are defects on the items or goods, o the goods are of unsatisfactory conditions. So, maybe alam mo na to when you are doing your basic accounting. Let us illustrate. An amount of 100,000 expected to be returned. The journal entry would be sales return and then allowance for sales return. So, itong allowance for sales return, this is a deduction to your receivable accounts. Now, let's move to sales discount. So, for sales discount, normally kanina diniscuss na natin yung pag-offer ng cash discounts to customers, which is a reduction from the invoice price because of an immediate payment. So, yung cash discount is known as a sales discount on the part of the seller. Kung ikaw yung nagbebenta, sales discount mo yan. Pero kung ikaw yung bumibili, you recognize it as purchase discount. So, yung sales discount, this is a deduction to your sales account. Yung purchase discount is a deduction to your purchases account. So now let us move to the methods of recording these credit sales. So normally kaya ka lang normally these credits, itong mga gross method and net method na to ay nag-a-arise lang when you are doing credit sales kung ikaw ay nagpapautang. So under the gross method, you record the accounts receivable and sales at gross amounts. Under the net method, you record the receivable and sales at the net amount. So, ano naman yung net amount na yun? The net amount is calculated by deducting the cash discount from the invoice price. So, it will be best kung i-illustrate natin yan. Mas madali kasi siyang mas maintindihan. Okay, let's illustrate a gross method. For example, the sale of a merchandise for 200,000 terms 5/10 and n/30. Ibig sabihin, 5% ang discount mo kung ikaw ay magbabayad within 10 days. At ang due date, ang total term mo ay 30 days. Okay, under the gross method, this is mas simple ang gross method at mas widely practice itong, this is common and widely practiced itong gross method at mas simple siya compared to the gross method. Kaya kung papansinin mo, ganito yung ginagawa mo on your previous recordings on your basic accounting. You debit accounts receivable and then you just credit sales 200,000, the recognition of the sale of a merchandise. Next, the collection made within the discount period. So, kung ikaw ay nagbayad within the discount period, meron kang 5%. So, what is 5% of 200,000? That is 10,000. So, how do you recognize? You debit cash. You credit muna. You credit 200,000 dahil yan yung total receivable account. And then, magkano ang discount niyan? Discount ni buyer? 10,000. That is 5% of 200,000. And then, yung natira, yun yung matatanggap mong cash, 190,000. What if the collection is made beyond the discount period under number 3? O di i-reverse mo lang yung, o di wag ka mag-recognize ng sales discount. You just have to eliminate your receivable account, you debit 200 accounts receivable 200,000 and then you credit accounts receivable at 200,000 and then you debit 200,000 kasi nga wala nang discount. Okay, madali under the gross method, this is simple. However, under the net method, anong sinasabi niya? For example, this is the same scenario pero iba ang treatment under the net method. Pansinin mo, when Under the net method, you debit accounts receivable and then you credit sales 190,000. So net, kaya siya net method ay nakadeduct na kaagad yung mismong discount. 200,000 times 95%. Bakit 95%? Because 100% minus the 5% discount, yung cash discount. So naka-recognize na kaagad siya. Accounts receivable sales 190,000. Next, what if the collection is made within the discount period? Dahil naka-recognize na kaagad dito yung discount, anong gagawin mo kapag nagbayad siya within the discount? Madali lang. I-reverse mo lang yung entry mo by crediting 190,000 accounts receivable and then debiting cash 190,000 kasi natanggap mo na yung pera. So, kanina, sinet up mo, yun yung pautang. Ngayon, natanggap mo na yung pera at 190,000. The problem is, papaano kapag yung collection ay beyond the discount period? Eh, ni-recognize mo na siya dito kanina as parang as if the discount has been claimed. So, paano gagawin? So, magkakaroon ka ng new account title which is the sales discount forfeited. So, paano siya, sir? Since it is beyond the discount period, wala siya dapat discount. So, dapat ang matanggap mong cash ay 200,000. Credit. Accounts receivable 190 because yan lang naman yung sinet up mo before. Then, credit sales discount forfeited 10,000. Sales discount forfeited is classified as other income dahil hindi na-recognize ni dahil hindi na-avail ni buyer ang discount within the 10-day period, nagkakaroon ka ng income doon. So, yun ang difference between the two. The recognition of a sales discount forfeited account under the net method which is not present under the gross method. Okay. Hinga ka pang konti and then let's move to allowance for bad debts account. I am trying to compress everything in one video to be able for you to easily study the discussions on intermediate accounting. So medyo marami kasi yung topics. Let us make it a point na yung videos will be compressed as much as possible but meaty. Kumbaga, malaman yung ano ng videos natin. Allowance for bad debts account. So, ano nangyayari under the bad debts account? Dahil ikaw ay nagpapautang, there are tendencies na hindi mo naman makukolekta yan lahat. Ang sabi nga, when you extend credit, you don't expect recoveries 100% because merong risk associated with extending credits. The benefits of increasing the income has risks associated on collecting when you are extending credit sales. So there are two methods in accounting for a bad debt loss, the allowance method and the write-off method. Under the allowance method, which is this is widely used in practice, itong allowance method, ang sinasabi lang dito is the recognition of a bad debt loss if the accounts are doubtful of collection. So, nagre-recognize ng allowance for doubtful accounts kapag nakikita na there is after careful analysis and evaluation na determine na the accounts are doubtful of collection or there is a probability na hindi yan makolekta. So, papaano ang gagawin? Let us analyze this. When accounts are considered doubtful of collection, you set up doubtful accounts. Itong doubtful accounts, ito ay expense account. Ibig sabihin, for conservatism, sineset up mo na kaagad na there is a possibility na hindi makolekta yung particular percentage of accounts receivable. Kaya may nagsiset up ka ng expense, doubtful accounts, and then credit, allowance for doubtful accounts. Itong allowance for doubtful accounts, ito ay deduction eventually sa yung accounts receivable. Kumbaga, kung magkano yung accounts receivable mo, ibabawas mo tong allowance, yun na yung magiging realizable amounts ng yung accounts receivable. So ito, early stage ng recognition of the doubtful accounts. This is uh, this is uh, present under allowance method because this is not present under the direct write-off method. So let's proceed. Doubtful accounts are subsequently found to be worthless. So itong ni-recognize mo kanina na may probability na hindi makolekta after further evaluation and analysis and study on the receivable accounts na na-establish na hindi na siya makokolekta or they are considered worthless. So, paano mo i-recognize yun? E eliminate mo na yung mismong receivable account. You debit allowance for doubtful accounts, alisin mo na yung allowance dahil i-write off mo na siya. Bawasan mo na yung accounts receivable. At what amount? Okay. So ngayon, on the face of your financial statements and your financial position, yung accounts receivable will reflect the real balance na yung nakadeduct na sa kanya yung na write off na accounts receivable. Next, what if ni-write off yung receivables pero biglang nagbayad yung customer? So ito yung case, the previously written off are recovered or collected. So paano i-recognize yan? You have to recharge or to restore the balances nung kung saan siya nanggaling. So, ibalik mo lang. You debit accounts receivable, credit allowance for doubtful accounts, and then, kapag siya ay nakolekta na, you debit cash and then accounts receivable. Sir, bakit kailangan pang i-restore itong accounts receivable and allowance for doubtful accounts? Hindi na lang pwedeng cash and then other, kumbaga, income, ganun. Because you have to recognize under the matching principle kung saan nanggaling yung recognition noong inflows or yung mga income na yan. Since alam mo na it is from a receivable account, it is proper na you recognize the you recognize the item as as a receivable account. Kaya i-restore mo muna bago mo bawasan ang iyong accounts receivable account. Sorry for yung medyo maingay. Okay, now let's proceed with the direct write-off method. The direct write-off method does not require recognition for a doubtful account. Recognition is done when the accounts are proved to be worthless. So under the direct write-off, kaya nga ang term niya ay direct write-off, hindi na siya nagre-recognize ng allowances. Kaya pansin mo under our illustration, accounts are considered to be doubtful of collection, there is no entry. Kapag doubtful pa lang, may probability na hindi makollect, wala kang ginagawa, wala kang adjustments on your books. Kailan lang siya nire-recognize when it is proved to be worthless. Kapag identify mo na i-write off mo na yan, you debit bad debts and then you credit accounts receivable. Itong bad debts, this is essentially the same as doubtful accounts kasi parehas silang expense accounts. Ginagamit yung doubtful accounts because yun ay doubtful of collection pa lang. Pero under the bad debts kasi, pag sinabing bad debts mo, ibig sabihin, these are written off accounts. Kumbaga, ang ginagamit ay direct write-off method. So, yan, binawas na kaagad niya. However, paano kapag daw na-recover o the same procedure under the direct write-off method? Debit accounts receivable, credit bad debts, and then you debit cash, and then credit accounts receivable na na-collect. It is worthy to note that the direct write-off method has been recognized by the Bureau of Internal Revenue for income tax purposes. Bakit? Because kasi yung expense, since it is an expense, itong bad debts expense na ito, it will be a deduction for income tax purposes. So ang gusto ni BIR to be able to reach a higher collection, i-recognize mo lang as an expense for income tax purposes kung yan talaga ay written off na in your books. Pero kapag yan ay doubtful pa lang, hindi mo pa yan dapat i-recognize for income tax purposes. So, yun lang ang sinasabi dyan. This is also used by small businesses because hindi na sila nagme-maintain ng mga allowance for doubtful accounts. Because normally, kapag nalaman na the accounts are worthless, yan ay nire-write off na lang kaagad. Because it is simple to apply kapag for small businesses. The direct write-off method, it violates the matching principle. Why? Why it violates the matching principle? Because kung papansinin mo, when they analyze the receivable account, on the period, hindi nila yan ma-recognize, hindi nila yan ma-match on the benefits. Bakit? Kasi kung kailan siya mag-prove to be worthless, doon mo pa lang siya i-recognize as an expense. Eh hindi na yun on the period on which the benefits inuring to the receivable account, to the asset accounts rest. Kumbaga, hindi na ma-match yung expense with the recognition of the income. Dapat dito siya sa period na to, pero dahil hindi mo siya nire-recognize as doubtful on the as bad debts on that period, on the succeeding period mo pa siya i-recognize as an expense, hindi na niya na ma-match. Hindi nagma-match yung income and expenses related to that particular transaction. Because it violates the matching principle, it is not permitted under the IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standards. Next, if the recovery is subsequent to the year of write-off, the recovery may simply be credited to other income. So anong sinasabi dito? Ang sinasabi lang dito sa bullet number 5 is ito. Papaano daw walang problema kapag yung recovery is within the year of write-off, pero papaano kung ni-write off mo ngayon pero next year ay tsaka mo siya na-kolekta? What happens? According to kapag direct write-off method, you can credit to other income. You can just debit cash and then credit other income. Kapag yun ay subsequent to the year of write-off na yung recovery. Pero kapag allowance for doubtful accounts ba, sir? Ay pag allowance method ba? Papaano ang treatment? Under the allowance method, whether it is within the year of write-off or subsequent to the year of write-off, you have to restore yung receivable balances. That is the generally accepted approach under the allowance method. Whether the recovery is during the year of write-off or subsequent thereto, you have to reverse the original entry of the write-off. Kumbaga yan. Which is different under the direct write-off method because sinasabi dito that it can, according to the standard, it can be credited to the other income when you are using the direct write-off method. So I think that ends the discussion on the accounts receivable. I will be having next parts related to receivable pa rin, yung estimation of doubtful accounts, receivable financing, notes receivable, loans receivable. So maraming topic related to receivable pa ang i-discuss natin. So this is just, kumbaga, an introduction to what receivable is all about. And particularly, accounts receivable ang dinidiscuss natin dito kasi iba-iba ang receivable. May notes receivable, yung mga with promissory note. Meron naman yung loans receivable related to the loans. So, meron din mga, so i-discuss din natin yon yung accounts, ito yung accounts receivable, then next yung notes receivable, loans receivable, then yung mga receivable financing, paano mag-estimate ng doubtful accounts, and others. So if you have the book Intermediate Accounting Volume 1 by Valix, you can refer to the extensions of the discussions throughout the receivable because i-discuss natin siya. Because this is vital. Kailangan matutunan ito. These are the basic the fundamentals concepts in accounting, basic accounting, to be able for you to analyze yung more complex transactions on higher accounting when you are incorporating everything. So, kailangan makuha mo yung foundations and logics nung fundamental of the accounts. Kumbaga, iniisa-isa natin yung bawat accounts. So, I think that ends the discussion on accounts receivable. Kung meron kang question, you can drop it on the Google Classroom or in the group chat. Thank you.